Welcome to the show, everybody. If you could, really quick, just hit that subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube, or I think you can also follow or subscribe wherever you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever. So, my guest today, Paul Gilbert, amazing guitar player. We're going to cover his whole career, from when he started out to playing in the band Racer X, to joining Mr. Big, to his solo career and his teaching career. And he has a new solo album out right now. It's called Werewolves of Portland. That one is out and ready to go. He also has a new Christmas album coming out called Twas. T-W-A-S. I don't know how do you pronounce that. Twas, The Night Before Christmas. It's got 2 songs out now at the time of this recording, and the full album I'm assuming it's going to be out before Christmas. So just make sure you follow that on Spotify or however you listen to your music. And if you're a fan of Paul's guitar teaching and his instructional videos, he told me in this interview that you can get personalized lessons from him where he'll critique your playing and give you tips and tell you what to do. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check the show notes for the link on that to get his personalized teaching. Otherwise, get ready for an awesome interview with the one and only Paul Gilbert. How are you doing today? Welcome, Paul Gilbert. Guitar legend. This is amazing. I'm a big fan, so this is really cool for me.
That's nice of you. That's a nice compliment. And it's a little hot warm in my studio, so
yeah.
Now I'm comfy.
All right, cool. So I mean, you know what's amazing about you is that you've inspired a lot of people to pick up a guitar, but don't you also think you've inspired a lot of people to put their guitar down? Because like you're too good. I mean, when I played guitar in high school, I was like, I give up. I can't compete with these guys.
Well, I have to apologize for the instructional videos that I made in the early 90s, because my goal was not to help people. I was still sort of desperate to just begin my career, so it's basically just showing off.
Yeah,
much as I possibly could, and not holding any secrets back. I wasn't deceiving people, but I was definitely not putting the emphasis on like the core important things that make you a musician that people like to listen to. And to this day, I suffer from it because there's the niche of people that love those videos, and they come in and they're like, "You got to show me how to play a scale up and down really fast," and I have to make the decision whether to help. I mean,
yeah. Are these the ones where you had like you pulled a rabbit out of your guitar and you put your guitar in a straitjacket and you had presents thrown at you by members of the crew? Are these those ones?
Those are the ones. You know them.
Yeah.
And I had a sense of humor in them, I guess, but it was scales up and down. There's a great scene in the Mozart movie Amadeus where young Mozart premieres his new symphony, and there's some of the older wiser guys in back, and the one guy goes like, "Ghastly scales." And I thought that's the best adjective I've heard for scales. Ghastly.
Yeah, well, because isn't
success? I made a career on ghastly scales, and now I'm trying to make up for it.
Well, success is not sexy a lot of the time, right? Like, because I heard you talking about when you first started, you only knew one song and you kept playing the same riff over and over again, and you practiced an hour a day. What was it? 25 or 6 to 4, right? You just kept playing that same riff. And then you're like, okay, now that I got that down, now I'll move on to this like Cheech and Chong song. And then you learned all these other songs, but like it starts out and that's amazing that you figured that out at 9 years old.
Well, I'd already had 3 years of feeling like a quitter because I had taken lessons at 6,
mm-hmm.
and they were horribly boring. At least, maybe it's not easy to entertain a 6-year-old.
Sure.
But I thought it was all sight reading, and I wanted to play. I wanted to, just get into some music and connect to it, but and do rock and roll. And this was more like learning how to sight read "Mary Had a Little Lamb," and it just wasn't my favorite song.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, I'll give up guitar because it's too boring. And I thought I'll take up drums. And then I started taking drum lessons, and it was the Haskell-Haar drum method, traditional grip and on a snare pad, and again sight reading, ta ta ti ti ta, and that didn't sound like Ringo or John Bonham or the drummers I wanted to sound like, and so I thought, well, I'm just gonna buy a stereo and like do air guitar in front of my mirror, And so I did that for a couple of years, which actually turned out to be a good thing to do because there was a lot of listening. And a big part of being a musician is listening. You sort of have to, get a target before you aim at it. So did a lot of air guitar, with Led Zeppelin and Beatles and Van Halen. Well, Van Halen wasn't out yet, but definitely Led Zeppelin. And then finally got a guitar, when I was 9, I just thought it's been like 3 years. I got to get going. If I don't start, actually playing the instrument, instead of just hopping around in front of the mirror.
Did you practice the stage moves at that? Because I feel like that's a big thing about
that was the best part.
The faces, like the guitar faces and stuff.
Well, I don't really remember. I didn't focus. It was very, just the way I was feeling it. So it wasn't like structured. Okay, now the faces, and then we'll stop the faces, and now the arms. It was just, feeling the music and pretending I was the guy or whoever was the player, and visualizing the stage and just having fun. And then I had a music, in school. You had music class, and they demonstrated the steps of the major scale. And I looked at them and I thought, I wonder if those steps are similar to the lines, the frets on my guitar. I went home and I went do 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 do, and it was, whoa, that's I could actually sort of play something. And
so it wasn't natural for you. It wasn't just you picked it up and figured it out. Right? Wasn't part of the issue too? You didn't know how to tune a guitar.
Well, there was one thing that was natural, and that was I had a pretty good sense of time, and which because it was natural, I never really thought it was all that valuable. Because I just thought, well, I assumed everybody, if you can, I just assumed everybody had a sense of time. I thought, well, if I can feel it, I'm not special. I thought everybody feels. And then a couple of my friends started playing, and I was surprised because they struggled with it. And the song that was like where I sort of noticed that was Beatles song called "Hey Bulldog," which is a shuffle. It was like doom doom da and I could barely play the notes because it was just the instrument was new. I was a little kid, but I could aim. I knew what the target was. The target was clear about what that should sound like and the rhythm. And my friends, we were all even playing field. None of it. All of us were struggling, and my buddies could get their fingers in the right place, but they couldn't do it on time. And it wasn't a technical thing. It was more they just weren't hearing where it goes. And that's actually a fairly sophisticated rhythm. It's got a swing feel, a lot of syncopation. But I'd heard that record forever. Yellow Submarine is one of my favorite records when I was a kid, and I'd listened to it a million times. It had already put in the air guitar time. And so that was really the thing. Is like, it's not just playing, it's the listening part. And I'd done a lot of that.
But you must have had some natural talent, because I think, I don't know, one of these Guitar World or one of these things called you one of the 50 fastest guitar players of all time. And that's not an easy thing to do. When I play guitar, I was slow. I could not get from one chord to the next. It's hard.
Well, I was never one of the fast guy on the block. I remember I joined a band. I was about 12, and I had to lie to get into the band because they had the little on the bulletin board. They had the sheet of paper up at the music store. It said "must be 13." And I called them up anyway and pretended I was, I was like, yeah, I'm 13.
Yeah, what are they going to do? Check your library card or something? Like
they let me come, for the audition. I could play pretty good, so they let me in the band. And what were we talking about? What was the thing we were talking about before?
How fast you could play.
Oh, right, how fast? Yeah. And these were older kids. They were 14, 16, 17 years old. And they had friends that were musicians, and they heard me. And they're like, "You're all right. You can join the band." But they said, "You should hear Tony Eckel, this legend, local legend." And so one day Tony Eckel came over, and just remember all the weird details, smoking cherry cigarettes, whatever those were. And he I think he had a Strat, and he picked up the guitar and went like a million miles an hour, but it wasn't like a controlled million miles an hour. It was sort of like an explosive, chaotic million miles an hour. And I had some standard inside of me where like I didn't want to be messy. And even though I love Jimmy Page, and I love a lot of the guitar players that are called, have the messy label on them. And I still love them because they have so much other good stuff going on.
Right.
And even the messy thing is kind of, it's kind of like throwing paint. It's like it's not supposed to be. They're painting with a big brush. So you don't expect a big brush to look like a little brush. But anyway, for me, I kind of wanted to learn how to paint with a little brush and have detail and control. And I didn't have it, but I had the patience because I knew if I just start moving my hands fast, that's just that I'm gonna blur, and so it took me a while to build that, the technique with a little brush. And it's not like it's not a one size fits all. A lot of it's like actually choices and choosing the lick that works for. Because I think some people think like, oh, you get that technique, you can just do anything fast. And it's like, no, you choose the licks that are speed upable, and are practical to do that way.
Yeah.
But don't pick this thing you're never going to speed up. Don't try to make an elephant. I mean, I guess elephants are actually probably fast, but
Right. Well, speaking of speed, so Racer X, this is one of your first bands. You formed it in LA. So explain to me how this is. I got to fill in some of these gaps here with your career, because you reach out to singer Jeff Martin in Phoenix of the band. He was in a band, Surgical Steel. How did you find him if he lived in Phoenix?
I had hooked up with Mike Varney, who was a record producer.
Shrapnel Records, right?
Yeah, he'd offered me a deal with Shrapnel, and so I was trying to put a band together, and he was helping me. And so I found a bunch of guys at school because I was going to GIT. So that's where I found John O'Reilly, who changed his name to Juan. And the original drummer, Harry Chaucer, was a student. And Bruce, the other guitar player, Bruce Bouillet, I met him at school as well. And if there was a vocal school, it wasn't, they had 2 students or something, there weren't many singers there. So, although later, it's funny, one of the guys that I went to school with was Jeff Buckley.
He's famous. Yeah.
And none of us knew that he was a singer, because he it was a guitar school. So he was just like the rest of us, sitting there practicing scales. And I don't think he liked it much, because it just wasn't his thing. And later, he became this legend as a singer and songwriter. But anyway, I didn't know that he was a singer, and he probably wouldn't want to be my heavy metal band anyway. So, so I was, Mike would try to find people. He hooked, he would hook me up, and then whoever it was send me a demo, and we'd sort of trade tapes back and forth. And immediately I really liked Jeff's style and vibrato, and it just reminded me of the singers I liked. So, and I met him, and he's to this day one of my best friends.
That's awesome. So then, yeah. So tell me about that when you guys were in that band and the scene in the 80s. Like, I love stories of the Sunset Strip, but it's interesting because I heard you talking about how you never did drugs, and the groupies were more, it wasn't girls wanting to have sex with you. It was more guys wanting guitar lessons from you, right?
I wonder how much, I had dreams, I had hopes, I saw the Rat video, I thought this, here we go. This is going to be, and, after the show, either that or my standards were high. I don't know, whatever it was. Whatever it was much more connected to the music than I was to the lifestyle. And I remember we were kind of into bowling. That was like after the show we'd go to the all night bowling alley and bowl. So that was it was pretty nerd. And I used to play a lot of chess with Bruce. He was better than me. He was he'd always beat me at chess. And John and I I used to go to his apartment. We'd play Scrabble. I played guitar so much, and I was just I grew up like on a farmhouse. You couldn't walk to anything, so I was like pretty. Was not advanced as a social human being. Interesting.
So, but you don't get offered.
So
I feel like just being in that scene, though, I feel like there's got to be drugs everywhere and girls. And I mean, the crazy stories I've heard of the Sunset Strip, I mean, I feel like it'd be hard to avoid.
Well, we would go to the strip to hand out flyers.
Okay.
And, to go get to the show. But I think, I don't know if this is even a phrase, but is there a phrase like attracts like? I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Well, you attract similar people.
Yeah.
And so I think people could tell right off the bat, like, this guy's a nerd, and then but all the nerds would be like, right on, let's go play some Dungeons and Dragons,
I love it though. It's like so innocent. It's so great. So then you decide that you're going to join Mr. Big, and you say it's like jumping off a cliff, but in a good way. Like you didn't know what to expect, but you knew it was going to be great. How did you know it was going to be great? Was it just because of, I know Eric's manager had managed Journey, or so, was it something like that? Or was it Billy Sheehan was in the band? Or how did you know that it wasn't going to be a disaster?
Well, I mean, you don't know for sure, but
Yeah.
I'd always been a big fan of Billy's because I used to go sneak into the clubs in Pennsylvania when he played with Twas. And Towels was great, and of course Billy was amazing. But I really liked that band a lot. And used to cover their songs and listen to them all. Go watch them all the time. And then of course Billy joined the David Lee Roth band, so he did big time.
Yeah.
And he used to come down to see Racer X with the David Lee Roth band, and he would also, Billy would come in and teach at GIT or BIT, I guess. But it was the same building, and he would stop in. Because we kind of knew each other a little bit, and he'd stop in while I was doing a class. I'd say like, "Hey, is it okay with you guys if Paul and I, jam on a song?" And all the students would go, "Yeah." So we'd play some songs, and we sort of had the common language of knowing a lot of cover songs. So I think Billy liked me because he could name off any tune, and I'd could make my way through it. And so. After he got out of the Roth band, I think he was, he was definitely thinking about forming a new band. He contacted me. I already knew about Eric because I had some of Eric's solo albums. I really liked his singing a lot. And I didn't know Pat, but as soon as we jammed together, Pat was great. And of course the management. Now the thing then, everything was based on the having a good manager, attorney, and record label. And if you didn't have those things, you could have the greatest band in the world, but you'd be stuck forever, playing local clubs. And that was in Racer X. We had auditioned for every big label and every management, and just nobody was we weren't getting any reaction. So we were just sort of like, man, what else can we do? And then right then was when Billy called me up. It was like, I got putting this band together, and Herbie Herbert's the manager, and all stuff. And I just thought maybe this could be good timing. And it was actually a heartbreaking decision because the Racer X was a band that I had built from the ground up to a certain, we were fairly successful locally.
Yeah.
And the guys in the band were all my best friends. And so, I kind of felt like I was stabbing everybody in the back. And, and suddenly all my friends were gone, because they weren't happy with me leaving. And, I don't blame them. that wasn't a nice thing to do.
Really, though, even though they weren't happy for you to be playing with the bassist from David Lee Roth, and they weren't happy for you to take a step up because
we were really tight knit. We had really built it together, and it was our mission. And so it was a hard decision. I remember just being in my apartment, really soul searching, and just not knowing that either if I stayed, I didn't know if it was just gonna Racer X was just gonna fizzle away.
Yeah.
It seemed like we had tried everything we could, but at the same time, I felt like I was, betraying my friends, and so I ended up, with this great new band and no friends for a while. I mean, a couple months later, I got back together. We're all friends, and have been ever since.
So they were kind of mad at you for leaving at first, though. They felt like you betrayed them, and it was like, but then they got over it because guys are usually get over stuff pretty quick.
Well, I don't know if I can speak for their emotions. I all I can speak is I felt bad about it. I know that's to me I felt like I did something not so nice to my friends, and I felt pretty guilty about it.
Interesting.
But at the same time, I was like, man, this is how can I pass this up?
Yeah. Interesting. That's interesting. So then, Mr. Big, the first record, I like the first record. It's good. Addicted to That Rush. Great. Fast guitar playing. But the second one, that first song on the second record, Daddy Lover Little Boy, whose idea was it to do the power drill? Because you and Billy both use the power drills, right?
Yeah. Well, then I started doing that back in Racer X.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that was way back I mean, it wasn't on any. I don't think it was on the records. It might have been on the live album. I might have done a little bit. But,
Oh.
as part of the live show with Racer X, and then one day I brought it into rehearsal or something, and Billy's like, "Hey, man, can you make me one?" And we got another Makita and got a bit for it, and we did that really quick. I mean, we sort of knew the spot in the song where it was going to go, but I don't think we had rehearsed that part. We just sort of had like, this is the drill section, and we'll, when after we record it, we'll figure out what to put there. And I just sort of thought of that. I mean, I don't think I thought of the time later. I realized it's the melody from Blondie. Dreaming is free.
Oh, that's awesome.
Not exactly, but that was sort of,
Yeah.
I was, that's my hobby, is like going like, oh, that melody is like that melody. That was,
Yeah. So
close.
what about the other song that this is one of my favorites is, I didn't realize that you wrote the music for this. And I guess the band hated the title, Green Tinted 60s Mind. I think this song is so underrated, but you wrote everything on that, the music and the lyrics, right?
Well, I kind of wanted to just see if I could, because most of the writing that I had done up to that point was like, I'll come up with the riff and then the singer writes the vocal.
Okay.
And I just thought, I wonder if I can do it, because if I try, let's see what happens. So that one, I mean, I was still at the point in my songwriting where I didn't have much craft, and so I just sort of had to wait for something to fall out of the sky and write it down real quick before it disappears. So I it was just an inspiration. And I remember when, not on that song, but on some other songs, Erica would come in and go like, well, that's good, but why don't we change the second verse? And I'm like, I can't do it. That's what came out of the sky.
Didn't you say this one was inspired by Beach Boys and Paul McCartney a little bit?
Well, everything is, because that's what I listened to when I was a kid. But yeah, there's a fancy chord in there that I you can find it in if you find it like God Only Knows, or what's the McCartney song? My love does it good. And that's the same chord in the right there. That
yeah,
flat chord, which I learned at school. I never, I don't know if I could have worked that out by ear, but it's at school, that's where you learn the stuff you can't work out by ear, and then you play it enough where you start to recognize and go, and then it becomes part of your language.
Right. So then, To Be With You, obviously that's your biggest hit with Mr. Big, #1 song. What is it like having a #1 song on the radio? Like, were you guys chart watching and seeing like, oh, is it going to pass Paula Abdul or whatever the people behind of it or ahead of it were on the charts? Did you watch that stuff?
Definitely. As soon as it started climbing up, our management, I mean, you couldn't check the internet in those days.
Sure.
We'd get a call from the management. They're like, number 10. And we're like, top 10. Oh my God. And, number 3, number 1, we couldn't believe it. And the thing is, it feels like it's completely, at least for me, completely out of our hands. So in a way, it's like, I don't feel like, oh, this is something I did. Give me my pat on the back. It's like, no, you make a song and it does what it does. Whether it's #1 or nobody listens to it, it's kind of out of your control.
But you must have felt like you made the right decision at that point when you're thinking of, do I leave Racer X? I don't know. And then it's like, okay, now I got a #1 song. Like, you made a good decision there, right?
I don't think we would have had the #1 with Racer X. I mean, I think I did find out, because later on I reformed Racer X.
Yeah.
And we did do some other albums, and they were really cool. And I'm glad we were able to do that.
No, it's awesome. I love that band too. But I think that you kind of needed to have that pop success to bring you into the spotlight. I think that helps Racer X even, doesn't it? It helps your name be more recognizable. And
well, I'd say the other interesting thing is that the extra people that took notice of us because of having an acoustic ballad pop hit aren't necessarily rock fans. Mm-hmm. So I remember during that 2 weeks, our audience changed completely. Because a normal gig, you're playing for guys in leather jackets and Metallica t-shirts, and then the 2 weeks, it was like all 12-year-old girls in the audience screaming whenever they'd see Eric. and then the song, dropped down to number 2 or so, and there all the girls are gone, and it's back to the leather jacket guy.
Weird. Wow.
But predictable, I guess, in a way. And but I don't know, that always. I guess there's parts of life that I feel I have some control over, which is like when I pick up a guitar, the sound that comes out. That's kind of under my control.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I put my focus, and where it goes from there. It's you have your hopes and your dreams, but there's not, and you can do stuff like this, doing interviews, or you do your little bit of promo, but something like that, having a number 1 hit, that's just winning the lottery,
Well, yeah, and then you even you guys managed to have a top 40 hit with the 3rd album with the cover of Wild World. And that was at the height of grunge. I remember that, and that's a great album. That was amazing. Whose idea was it to cover that song?
I don't remember. I think I know that the label wanted another acoustic bell, because obviously we had
sure, yeah.
And so I don't remember if it was. Yeah, I can't remember.
But that worked out.
But the thing I remember that caught us by surprise was, of course, it's a cover of a Cat Stevens song.
Yeah.
And Cat Stevens at some point had become a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And we're musicians. We just like the song,
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it wasn't so much in the States, but I remember going over to Europe, and all the interviewers would be like, that you were supporting, they would give this political thing. We're like, what the, and Billy could handle it. Billy was smart enough where he could take that question and somehow steer us safely out of those dangerous waters.
Yeah.
But the rest of us are like, it's a D minor,
That is great. Well, what about, so the song Colorado Bulldog? I remember like you guys saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but because I remember reading this in Metal Edge, that the song was about drinking, but you guys didn't drink a lot, but when you did, it got crazy. Now, is that like accurate? Because I remember reading like Sebastian Bach saying in Metal Edge, like, I'm against hard drugs. And then I read his book later and he's talking about cocaine. And he said, well, that's because Metal Edge is for kids. So is that an accurate story about Colorado Bulldog though?
I just love that we're talking about Metal Edge.
That's how I got to know you guys. I read interviews. Do you remember Metal Edge, right? You guys were big in there.
I remember, but I haven't thought about it for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fun times.
Every day is a new day.
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe if I was able to keep my metal hair, if it would grow that long, I could finally, get the Whitesnake audition. But anyway, I think as far as like drugs and drinking, how would I encapsulate that? I don't think I tried a beer until I was about 22, because there was a beautiful girl at a party and she handed me one. I was like, I will drink anything.
Oh, I love these stories.
I just had no desire. Somehow my mom put this fear of like destroying my brain.
Yeah.
If I drank the wrong thing, my brain would just turn into goo.
Right.
And I didn't want that to happen. So, I've never been a drinker and never tried anything, except at the dentist when you need to, not feel the drill. And the other guys drink a bit, but nothing.
Right.
But I think I had once in a while hanging out, I would try something, and I did try a drink called a Colorado Bulldog. Now, when you say like get crazy, my apologies. I don't think I ever really got crazy.
But is there something happened?
I'd be sitting in the back of the what do you call it, like at the Rainbow, they've got the booth, and I would just be in the back, smiling. That's about how crazy I got.
I love it. You're so innocent. It's so great. So then you guys go in '93 though. You guys went on tour with Aerosmith and Steve Vai. Did you ever have like a guitar duel with Steve Vai, like in that movie Crossroads?
I think. I don't think Steve was on that tour.
Oh, he wasn't?
That may be some misinformation, but we definitely went on tour with Aerosmith.
Okay. So Aerosmith. So never toured with Steve Vai. That's weird. I thought it was like multiple dates I saw with Steve Vai. Maybe he was on other dates.
Yeah, we toured with Aerosmith. I mean, later on, what was this? Man, I've done a lot of like jams with Steve Vai, but it wasn't
yeah. But Aerosmith, cool. That's got to be amazing. That I mean, Joe Perry.
Well, then Steven Tyler. That was,
Yeah.
I was always, I'm a fan of singers. So some of the backstage jams. I remember it was my birthday, and Steven Tyler comes back and we sang "Nowhere Man" together. And
Wow.
I remember we were doing another tour opening for Bryan Adams, and I got to sing "Help" together with Bryan Adams, and to hear these guys' voice, Eric Martin too. To hear them like not through a microphone, but just like their voice in the room, 3 feet away from you, is really something else. Because that's, besides the fact that they've honed their craft,
sure,
and they're, they're really skillful, they are the instrument. There's only one of those. You can go to the store and buy a Gibson Les Paul, just like Jimmy Page has, and of course, he's got his own way of playing it, but the instrument itself is that human being, and so that I really treasure those memories of being able to hear those guys sing at close range and just go like, listen to the air vibrate when they open their mouth. That's cool.
No, it's real. I would love to see. I've never seen you live. I think that would be cool to either see Mr. Big or solo show. But another song I got to ask about, like 17-year-old me, I loved this album, Hey Man, and the first song, Trapped in Toyland. I thought that was such a cool song, and I didn't realize until now that it was actually co-written with your buddy Jeff Martin from Racer X, and also Russ Parrish, who's the guitar player from Steel Panther, Satchel. And it just sounds so different than any Mr. Big song, but I really love it. Is there a story behind that song, like how that came about?
Well, Russ he'd played with Fight, with Rob Halford, and so I can't remember which part of the song came first, but I know, my memory's blurred. I just remember, Russ wrote some of the riffs, and I think the part the part I had, which is funny, was the kind of odd. It's not odd time, but the kick drum pattern is unusual because it's just doing it a straight 4 groove with the drum, don't. But then the kick starts doing this syncopated and bump 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 bump, and that came from a song that I had written when I was like 15. And sending tapes to Mike Varney, and I had this riff that I always thought was cool, and that ended up being in the song. So I just remember I wrote that part. The rest of it, probably the other guys wrote it, because I don't remember where the rest of it came from.
Okay, yeah, because it was interesting, that piano, and it was kind of like a spooky song. I don't know, it sounded so cool, and I liked it. I liked that one a lot. That was one of my favorites. But so yeah, with Mr. Big, it sounds like Eric and Billy are kind of content with that, just the band ending. Do you feel the same way, or would you reunite with Mr. Big and do some shows or an album? Or
the pressure's on. Let's see. I would say it. Like we've already done. I don't know, like three. Like the reunion tour we did, and I think it was 2009, was great. That was so that was like all for the right reasons. Like everybody's into the music. Pat was still around and full strength. Yeah. And I like the record. I thought, what if, to me, it was really turned out good. And although I don't know if we've done that record yet. I think we just did like maybe released what was that? I gotta get to the chorus to figure out what the title is.
What am I? Is it Get Over
Around.
It? No, wait.
We had a single called Next Time Around. That was actually
okay.
Before, but we released that, and then we did the tour, and that was a great tour. And then as it went, I don't know. I didn't feel like, but by the end of it, it's like I don't know what else we can do. Like it didn't. That's not really where my writing style is going. You know what actually. Excuse my voice. I think one of the things for me is my current musical passion, although I'm a guitar player, is kind of taking on the role of a singer on guitar. So like on my last tour, I did To Be With You and Green Tin of 60s Mine, and I played the vocal line on guitar. And I remember the last time, probably drove him crazy, but last time I visited Jeff Martin, he wanted to jam, and he had a band put together, and I said, do you have a ratchet set? And he said, yeah, I did, because Jeff can fix anything. He's got a bunch of tools. So I pulled a ratchet out and used it as a slide, and I barely played any rhythm guitar. I just doubled him. I doubled all his vocal lines, and that's kind of where my headspace is. Like, I feel more like a singer, playing that role with the guitar, playing melodies, than like sitting in the back going drug, 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 drug. And I don't know. I think I would probably have to take up drinking. in order for it to like to find something to be interested in, because
with Mr. Big, you're saying you'd have to start drinking to do a show with Mr. Big?
I think I would probably have to start drinking.
Really? You wouldn't want to just do it for fun or something?
It's like those songs. I just look down at the set list and go like, well, okay, there it is again.
Okay. So let's talk about your solo career. You have a new album out. This is exciting. I'm a sucker for Christmas music, and this is cool. It's like, I've only heard 2 of the songs. One is called Every Christmas Has Love. That's an original song, is it not?
Yeah, that one I wrote.
Okay. So then, and then the other one's a Christmas song, Hark the Herald Angels. So of course, everyone's heard that song. It's your version of that. And what else is going to be on this new Christmas record?
Well, let me grab a copy and see.
Oh, that's exciting. I was hoping you'd have the guitar too to play. Like, I saw other interviews where you were playing the guitar, but yes. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's the cover.
Mel the Glove is here. Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Frosty the Snowman, the Christmas song, which is the chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, I Saw Three Ships, another one I wrote called Three Strings for Christmas, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, We Wish You a Merry Christmas, Silver Bells, and Winter Wonderland. And Winter Wonderland, I used the drill.
Oh, cool. Wow. So, and then are these all instrumental where you're singing with the guitar? You don't actually sing on any of them?
Yeah, exactly. The guitar is my voice.
Okay.
Thank goodness, because it can hit the high notes.
Well, yeah, but like the one song you do, I mean, you sing on a few songs, but I know one of the most popular songs that you sing on is called Down to Mexico. That is a great song. That's one of your most popular songs on Spotify.
Well, thank you.
I love that song. It's really good. I never heard it until I started studying for this interview, and I was like, how have I never heard this song before? It's great.
Yeah, I mean, in Japan, like after I left Mr. Big in around 95, Mr. Big was so big in Japan that I could actually kind of eke out a living as a solo artist over there. And I don't know how many albums I released, but it was quite a few. And I was trying to sing on all of them. And this was, I just got in a home studio because digital recording had become affordable.
Okay.
So I had my home studio, and my idea was, well, now that I've got my home studio, I can do like a million takes. I can try again and again and again to get the vocal right. And so even I can be a singer, not realizing that if you can't do it in 2 takes, you probably shouldn't be doing it, because then so you try it live, you're going to suck.
Right.
But I didn't tour that much. I'd just go to Japan, do 4 shows, and then come back. So it wasn't like enough of a. I didn't really get to test it out. And, I think it took the thing that 2 things got me to stop singing. The first one was I did a cover of "Still Got the Blues," Gary Moore song.
Okay.
Because it's my mom's favorite song, and I thought it'd be nice to do something my mom likes, and so I was trying to do that. And then Gary Moore's an unbelievable singer. Besides being a great guitar player, he could hit the high notes and really had great style and soul. And I was trying to do it. I just don't have those high notes as part of my range. So I'd kind of falsetto through it, so long, it was so long ago. It sounds like Mickey Mouse singing, Hey, Mickey.
No, that sounded good. Well, you hit the notes.
Yeah, but it's not the same tone. I mean, if Gary Moore, if we could magically get him here to sing that, you'd hear a little bit of a difference.
Okay.
So I got torn apart on YouTube.
Oh, really?
I was reading the YouTube comments. Everybody's like, stick the guitar, dude. And I thought, they're probably right.
Really? You actually listen to the trolls? That's interesting, because most people I interview say, "Oh, fuck those trolls. I don't care."
People are totally supportive of anything I do, but that was like a surprising number of people going like, I don't know about this. And then I listened to it with hopefully an objective ear, and I was like, yeah, that's not really full strength. And so it was that one. And the other one was my manager started managing Richie Kotzen and the band he has with Billy, the
Winery Dogs.
Winery Dogs,
yeah.
And so my manager would always, I'd always hear him complimenting Richie, like, man, that kid can sing. oh, he can sing. And then whenever my manager talks about me, he's like, really clean. His playing is so clean. You can hear every note when he plays guitar, you know. But my manager never said a word about my singing ever in the 30 years I've worked with him.
Well, you got to know your range.
Clue,
yeah. But I mean, that Mexico song sounds great. I think your vocals are perfect for that.
That's because I had my recording studio and I could do 1,000 takes.
Okay, well, it still works. So when you do live shows, you don't sing at all anymore? Or do you sing a song or two? Or
yeah, sometimes I'll do a song or two because that's the thing. You can get away with one or two.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not, and it's sort of nice to be in that position where you can just sort of blast out for one song, and you know, you can wreck your voice, and you haven't wrecked it enough where you're the whole tour, you know, so I can do it the next day. But if you got to do a whole night of singing, I mean, I don't envy any singer. It's like, man, how do you do it? But I mean, with rock,
right? Yeah, totally.
Like screaming,
like Jeff Martin. Yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he is. He's amazing. Like, I'm listening to him. Like, when I listen to Racer X, I'm like, oh, this is like, I see why Scott Travis joined Judas Priest, because he's kind of got the Rob Halford style of screaming.
Yeah, he's a great singer. But for me, I sort of realized my limitations, especially being able, the fact that I can play guitar, and that's available. That's that's an option.
Mm-hmm.
And being able, suddenly I go for a high note, and it's like it's there every night. And no matter what, that's such a nice feeling compared to like, before you step on stage going like, please let me have that high note. And
yeah. Well, so in the Werewolves of Portland, in that album, you do the drums and the bass and the guitars. You do everything, right?
Well, drums, that's so much fun. That's because there's no wrong notes, You
well, it's got to be in time, I guess, but you said timing's your strength, so
guitar can be treacherous, and bass too. Because you like hit, you hit the perfect time but the wrong note, and it's pretty foul. But with drums, it's whether it's this tom or that tom, who cares? As long as drums is such a freeing, it's such a liberating experience to play the drums for me. And
it's therapeutic, right? Like it's like, or cathartic maybe is a better term, to like play the drums, like you get that energy out, right?
Yeah, and, well, that was nice too, because it was during the lockdown, so got some exercise. But after that record, I bought a little kit, and I play every day now. It's really a blast, and plus I had the best drum teachers in the world, because every time I'd play with Pat Torpey or Scott Travis, or I play with so many great drummers. And Jeff Martin is a fantastic drummer. I learned a ton from him.
Wow. Oh, that's right, because he played drums in Dokken or something, right?
Like, can you show me how the lick goes, or what's that?
Didn't Jeff Martin play drums in Dokken or something like that?
He played in Badlands with Jakey Lee, he played with Dokken. He played with UFO and Michael Schenker.
That's amazing that he can play drums and sing that well. That's amazing.
Well, if you're a musician, you're a musician.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know how. I'm just always amazed by you guys. And you know what else I'm amazed by going back to the Werewolves of Portland, in the music video, is that you dancing?
That was probably my
first
dance. And it was also zero preparation. And not that.
But those are some moves. I mean, you got some moves. And your kid Marlon is the little werewolf, but that's you as the big one.
Yeah, the funny thing was, after I did that video, I mean, I'm going to be 55 at the end of the week, and I could barely walk for about 2 weeks after I did that video. I'm not doing that much, but afterwards I was like, I turned all feeble, like I couldn't move my hips. Everything got so stiffened up. I'm not used to doing that.
Oh, but it paid off. That's a great video. Now hopefully I got you a few clicks on that video. People will check that out because it's awesome. It's a great song too. Now, when you do, you did a guest spot on Donnie V's Beautiful Things. I love that album. Now, how do you choose to do guest spots? Like, do you have to really love the music, or do you only play on people's albums who are friends, or how do you choose those coveted guest spots? Because I'm guessing you get a lot of offers.
Yeah. Well, it's either it's some combination of music, fun, and money. So
I like that.
If you have enough of any of them, if it's if the page is above a certain level, it's like, I'm here. What do you want me to play? And if it's within Donnie's case, I just I was like, man, I'll pay you. I love his music so much. So
Yeah.
I did that. Did that. What's the French way of saying for free? Non gratis or something? I don't know. I did it for free.
Okay, yeah. So
That was just because I was excited to play, do anything to contribute to Donnie's music.
that's awesome to hear. So how
everything in between.
Yeah, so we're doing pretty good with this interview. I know that obviously very, very well documented. You've had some hearing issues. So and it was obviously probably caused by being around loud music. So what advice would you have for younger musicians? Like how do they avoid having those issues later, and how do they protect their ears?
Well, I would say the difficult thing is that obviously if you love music, you love rock and roll, a lot of the real trebly loud sounds are exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So like as a kid, my favorite kind of drummers were guys that would just sit there and bash away at a crash cymbal. And I would like walk up and just dig it. And it would just make me feel so good to hear that trebly, that washy sound. And the same thing with the audience, like at the end of the song, that was the main reason I didn't want to wear earplugs, is because I wanted to hear what the audience, that felt so good to hear the roar of the audience. And if you wear earplugs, and even if the audience is going crazy, you can't really hear them. So it's like it's sort of it's frightening. It's like, do they like us? Should we leave?
Right.
You don't know. You can't hear them. And so a lot of, sometimes I wear earplugs, but sometimes I didn't. And I would say just as much as you can, just I get them in big boxes, these big boxes of foam earplugs. And again, if your hearing's good, you can. It takes a while to damage it, so you don't really realize what you're doing. And it also takes a real while to realize to know that you've damaged it, because it is gradual. So just as much as you can stand it, wear the foam earplug.
Yeah, it's one of those things that scares me, because I've been to so many concerts, and most of the times I didn't wear the earplugs. I'm trying to start now, but you're right. It's just like something. It's not the same when you have the earplugs in, but I know that I'm supposed to. So
it's yeah, you do can, and I would say that the thing that I do now, because I'm I was trying to save my hearing as much as possible, what's left of it, is when I play on stage, because it's loud on stage, and I kind of want it to be loud because that feels right.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is I jam those foam earplugs in my ears as much as I can, and I make sure that the drummer is close, because I want to be able to feel the drums. Without having to put them through the monitor.
Okay.
So I just want to, I want the drum kit close to me, and chances are, if the drummer's close to me, not only can I feel him, but he can hear me, because my amp's going to be close by.
Sure.
And it's really important for him to hear me, because if there's some hi-hat thing, like the beginning of Green Tinted has his hi-hat cue, and I ended up telling the drummer, I said, like, if I I can't be wrong because I can't hear you. So you have to just pretend that even if I speed up or slow down, I'm right no matter what. You have to follow me, because I can't hear you well enough to lock back in. So just follow me wherever I go. My apologies, but that's what we got to do. And fortunately, my sense of time's okay, so I usually don't speed up, slow down too much. And then the other thing is I put a guitar amp on stage facing at me, and just get that loud enough where, again, I can feel it. And really, that's all I need. If I sing, I can hear it because my skull's vibrating.
Okay. Do you wear what do they call inners or something? In-ears?
Because that's putting more sound in.
So you don't want to do that.
It's more feeling it.
Okay.
I'm like picking it up through my vibration of my body. And I did a whole tour, never had a conversation with the monitor guy, except like, I'm set. What do the other guys want? Because my monitor is like my little amp, which I've got control of, and being near the drum kit. And that's all I need. Okay.
Did I hear you say too that there may be a drug that could help restore some of your hearing? That's crazy to me.
They're working on stuff. It's real beginning stages of it.
Okay.
So I'm not depending on it, but you're gonna have a little seed of hope.
Yeah, it's crazy because you look so great. Like you look like you're in really good health other than the hearing thing, right? What is your secret? Is it just good genes, or you exercise, or what special diet, or?
The this is the most wonderful question I've ever had in my life.
Right?
Uh, I mean, I have nothing to contrast with. I don't have like a twin brother who has had a life of hard living to contrast and go like, well,
Right, but there are a lot of people who went on the Sunset Strip who are, I won't name names, but they're not doing so well. So maybe part of it was avoiding all that crazy partying, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really like food, so I would tend to seek out healthy stuff because it just makes you feel good when you eat it. It's nice. Um,
You're not a vegetarian though, or anything?
Besides that, I don't. I'm a busy person. I'm always doing stuff. So, I'm not a couch. I don't know how to use the remote control. So that I would say that's it. Like I'm not an exerciser. When I exercise, I tend to hurt myself.
Huh.
My main exercise is like walking to the grocery store to get some good food to cook, and then playing the drums.
Okay.
But I'm kind of constantly going. I teach at my online school, and it's a fairly it's intense mentally, and I think that even though that's not like a a muscle the same way your arms are, it's still a big part of you. And I think having an active mind, that's the only thing I can think of, because I'm not doing
yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
doing bench presses.
Right. Well, so I'll get in trouble if I don't ask something about guitar gear. I know I'm not a guitar player, but I know guitar players that love you and follow you. They probably want to know something. Do you have any new guitars that you've gotten, or new pieces of gear, or new toys that you're working with?
I mean, always this year I bought a lot of vintage Ibanez stuff.
Ooh.
But the thing that I'll say that was a discovery is like having pretty high action, where that's how high the strings are above the fretboard. And when I was a kid, that was everybody wanted low action. It's easier, you don't have to press down as far. It's easier to play fast. But the problem with, and then I guess maybe the way you solve that is if you have heavy strings, then it doesn't get ugly. But I tend to use really light strings. I like to bend a lot, and so if I have high action, it does two good things. One is it's easy to grab the string for bending. The other is I can hit it pretty hard with my right hand, and it doesn't buzz. Even though it's vibrating a lot, it doesn't hit the fret. So and also for slide, it's good because it doesn't buzz, even, which is unbelievable. With slide, typically you have to use really heavy strings. I've got really light, I'm using the eights, which is like people, guitar players gasp in horror, like, oh, eights, how can you do that? And they sound good with if you only have the action up. And the thing that's hard is then when you press down, you got to press farther. But because the strings are so light, you can do it. So that's sort of the secret, is just any guitar, just make the action high. But what do I got here? Let's see.
Yeah. Do you use the same guitar for every song if you're doing a live show, or do you switch out for different songs?
For live, well, live you have to it's that balance between having fun, bring a lot of gear, and then but also like the not fun of having to wait while it all gets checked in at the airport.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And have to pay for the excess baggage and all that. So, I think the American tour that I did a couple of years ago, that was probably the most I brought out because it was all on a bus.
There you go.
And we started, at my house, so I could take more than I usually do. But for example, this is one of the cool things. I invented the slide magnet, where I have a magnet installed in there, and it holds a slide on.
Oh, that's cool. That's so smart. Why didn't anyone think of that?
And then it's funny because, of course, most guitar players, I mean, if you're playing a guitar like this, you're a right-handed person, so you tend to reach for stuff with your right hand. And if I show any guitar player this, if I go, they always go for it with their right hand. It's like, that's not what it's for. You do it with your left hand because you're playing.
Right.
And you just go, and you get it, and you put it back.
Yeah.
So it takes some training to do that. Let's see if I got a sound. Let's see. Get this turned on. Oh, no, that's not that's right. The other knob.
Yeah, show off a little for my audience, because I don't know if they don't know who you are, they're gonna know at the end of this. This is gonna be amazing.
that coming through?
Yeah, that sounds great. How fast can you do it? Oh god, that's amazing. That's so cool. Do you play a lot in Portland where you live? Like, do you ever just go up on the local clubs and just jam with people, or?
Not really. I mean, I've played a lot of Portland musicians on the records that I've done. But I mean, one thing with COVID, everybody's just stuck at home.
Sure.
But besides that, man, I'm a dad, so I'm in bed by 10. That's kind of late. If I can get in bed by 9:30, things, that's a good night.
Right.
I'm up at 5. So that's that's when I can get like an hour of time for me. I can come down and jam a little bit, before the day starts. So
okay, that's cool.
To go to a club like when it's dark, and it was funny. Like the other day, I was driving. I don't remember why, but it was dark outside. I was like, man, I haven't driven in the dark for such a long time. And actually, Portland was beautiful. There's all these lights and stuff. I'm like, I've never even seen this.
Wow, that's
I'm always
cool.
in bed by when it's dark out.
That's funny. Are you? I saw that you're going to be in some documentary called Ampire about amps and music and the evolution of the sound of the amp. Has that come out yet? I
don't know. There's so many things these days. Pedal movies and various things that I don't really keep track like I used to.
But you are in that, right? Like it sounds like a pretty.
I think so. I think they came to my house and did something. But again, that's. I mean, maybe that's a great. I hope I don't seem like a jerk. Like I don't care.
No, like but it's cool because I think REM's in it, and Rush, The Doors. Like they talk about Chris Cornell, Leonard Skinner. Like it's like a Aerosmith, Lita Ford. I mean, it's this big long list of musicians in this movie, and you're in it. So I was like, oh, that's really cool to be included with all those guys.
I'm trying to think of like something where I was included and really excited, because what happens is, like, if it's something you've done before, it's like, oh yeah, that's my job, like.
But it's cool for guys like me who suck at guitar. We look at you as like a guitar god. You understand that, right?
Well, the things I'll get excited about are things where I maybe get to connect to musicians that are in a different world. That like songwriter people. There was some. I remember. I think I looked up on the internet about that chord, the Green Tinted Sixties minor chord, the minor 7 flat 5. That chord. And I like Googled, songs that have a minor 7 flat 5, and I was in there.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the cats that are in that list, are like my songwriting heroes. The Beach Boys, McCartney, and that was like, oh my goodness, that's a huge honor to be among those people, because I'm not known as a writer. I'm known as a shredder. Somebody's like, yeah, whittly whatever. But if I can be on the same list with Brian Wilson, it's like, oh, that's something else.
Have you ever gotten to meet McCartney or any of the Beach Boys or any of those people?
I think I was in the lobby of a rehearsal studio with Brian Wilson, but at the time, I don't think I even knew the history. I knew about the Beach Boys, but I hadn't. It was like before I had picked up Pet Sounds, and so I was kind of like, I just thought, help me run it, which actually, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
That's a great song too. Yeah, I love that. That's great.
But I would say, like the meetings they had that were amazing to me. First of all, the ones I mentioned, like jam with Steven Tyler and Bryan Adams.
Yeah.
The other one was I got to play drums with Cheap Trick once, and because I got to know the guys in the band, and I was living in Las Vegas, and every time they would come through, they would invite me to jam, and I'd go up on stage and play Surrender or something on guitar, and I think I had sat in like 3 times in a row, because they tour a lot, so
yeah.
And then it was like the 4th time, and I was like, I said, Tom, what do you think? Could I play drums this time instead of guitar? And he's like, let me ask Bunny. And so, and Bunny said yes. And so I got to play He's a War on the drum kit. And that was you know, again, that was because I'm, you know, a hobbyist drummer.
Yeah.
You know, that was like more exciting to me than any guitar jam I've ever had in my life.
That's so cool. I love those kind of stories. That's great. Well, I look forward to the new Christmas album. The Werewolves of Portland is out now, and hopefully you'll be doing some solo shows. I'd love to come see you play. I love seeing guitar players live. I mean, I like listening to, but seeing you live would be amazing because I just love seeing you guys work. It's just, even local musicians, I just go, wow, I just get so amazed by people playing instruments and doing it so well.
Well, it's, and whether it's guitar or any instrument, I mean, it sort of allows you to build a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, which I certainly don't have without the guitar. But you know, when you invest all this time and energy and love, you know, into playing an instrument, and then you play it, all that comes out. You know, you're able to like let your superpower shine.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's a nice thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I like to end each episode with a charity. Is there one that you like to work with, or a cause that is near and dear to your heart that you want to mention here at the end?
I was going to say, I knew I was going to be asked that question, and I thought the Oregon Zoo. I live in Portland.
Yeah.
And I remember before the lockdown and COVID and everything was happening. Or no, I'm sorry, it was after the lockdown.
Okay.
And of course they closed the zoo, which means they didn't have any income. And I thought, you know, I mean, it's hard on people, you know, but people, you know, we have some, you know, we're not like in cages locked up, you know, we're the animals, they really need help, you know.
Yeah.
They're not going to make it unless somebody helps them out. And so my wife and I did like a Stage It concert. Stage It's this online thing we can do a concert and people can, you know, you can get some money from it. And we donated a bunch of money to the Oregon Zoo from that. And you know, I've got a 7-year-old kid, so we go together and look at the bears and the
Marlon, the kid from the video, the music video, right?
What's that again?
Isn't it Marlon? Is that his name?
Yeah, Marlon.
Yeah, he's in the video.
He's a good dancer and a good companion, you know, as a zoo visitor.
Oh, that's great. Okay, well, I will put that in the notes along with your website so people can get the new music and follow you on social media for all your, and YouTube for all your crazy videos and instructional videos and all the new music.
I should mention I have an online guitar school with a company called Artistworks.
Okay.
And I've done over 11,000 lessons there for individual people. So if you sign up, you know, I listen to you play. And
you can get private lessons from Paul Gilbert?
Well, they're not live, which is actually better.
Okay.
It gives me a minute to think about a better answer.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, the people send in a video, I watch it and listen and then come up with a lesson and I send it back. And also it means that, you know, when the lesson's over, you're not like, I know he said a million things, but what was it? You know, it's all there in video so you can watch it again. It gets on the site and the archives. And, you know, I've seen more improvement in students there than I've seen in any other system. So, and it's cheap.
Okay.
You know, if I do live lessons, I'm pretty expensive. But
yeah. Okay.
like
so
$1 a day. You know?
Oh, okay. This is called Artistworks.
Artistworks.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will put that in the notes along with the Oregon Zoo and everything else, and people can follow you and do all that great stuff. So thank you so much for doing this. Dream come true for me.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Okay, well, that was a lot of fun for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. If you did, please subscribe to the show on YouTube or wherever you listen so you can stay up to date with future episodes. Also, you can check out some of my other interviews that I've done. I've had on some great musicians, including guitarist Steve Stevens, guitar player Bumblefoot, and Ryan Roxy, who's Alice Cooper's guitar player, and many more singers, bass players. I got all sorts of stuff. Make sure to, of course, follow Paul Gilbert on YouTube and social media and Spotify or wherever you get your music. Paul's got a lot of great content, including his new music and also his instructional videos. And again, if you want personalized instruction from him, make sure to click that link in the show notes. My website is also in the show notes, and that's got links to all my social media and the YouTube and press for the show. So thank you all for your support of Paul, and thank you for your support of my show. I appreciate you. I hope that you have a great day. And remember, shoot for the moon.